Like many of you here, I too had a dream to swim across the English Channel about 10 years ago. But then I had no clue about swimming in oceans at that point in time. I was still a beginner learning my skills of swimming. I was very afraid of the deep waters, primarily because of a near death experience that I had during the initial stages of my learning. I was also very afraid of the darkness and the vastness of the ocean. I was very afraid of the marine life. I thought something might hurt me when I'm swimming. More than all of this, I was afraid that I'm too old to even think about swimming across the English Channel. These were some of the limiting beliefs which prevented me from pursuing my dream for many, many years. Friends, let me share my story. A journey over 4 years as I overcame all these inhibitions and eventually conquered the English Channel last July, swimming solo, non-stop for 14 hours over 48 kilometers as an amateur swimmer. Where is English Channel? English Channel is a stretch of water about 33 kilometers wide, separating the UK and the rest of the Europe. And it is typically characterized by many challenges for a swimmer. The primary one being the cold temperature of the water. Typically, it ranges between 12 to 16 degrees even during the warm English summer. Combine that with a 12 to 17-hour typical swim duration for a swimmer, hypothermia was a big, big threat for any swimmer. To give you a perspective, where I train normally in Bangalore, the coldest temperature that I have experienced in the outdoor pool is something around 20 degrees, 21 degrees. It doesn't go anywhere below that. So when I have to prepare myself to handle a situation like this, I had to do a lot of things which I will share with you. Muscle cramps and exhaustion are very, very common. I had to endure a lot of cramps during my swim. During the 6th hour and 13th hour, I had severe cramps, which really even threatened to, attack my, the progress, impact my progress. Marine life is very, very common there. Prominent one being the jellyfish, and these are very, very notorious for their stings, and their pain lasts for a while. I had my share of jellyfish sting when I swam, and it's also a very busy shipping lane, right? And you can really see the number of ships and boats that pass by almost on a daily basis. For a swimmer, it is like standing in front of a busy highway trying to cross the road during the rush hour traffic. It is something similar to that. There are so many boats and ships which keep passing by. And it is also characterized by very, very strong currents, and which means that you don't get to swim in a straight line. The 33 kilometers, you don't do direct 33 kilometers. I had to do about 48 kilometers doing a zigzag to navigate through the currents. So, taking cognizance of all my limitations, inhibitions, and also the challenges of the English Channel, I hit upon the idea of approaching this whole thing by way of a relay swim. In a relay swim, each swimmer swims for an hour, and the next swimmer continues for an hour, and it's like a baton race, and it goes in a round robin fashion till you reach the other end of the shore. During this entire thing, I hit upon the idea of partnering with a bunch of other swimmers, master swimmers in Bangalore, and I did this 8-member relay in September 2015. Immediately followed it up in 2016 with a 4-member relay, and right after the 4-member relay, I signed up for my solo in 2018. But just before the solo, I also wanted to do the most grueling form of relay, which is the 2-person relay, along with my friend Ravi Sandesh. It was very, very tough to get the body adapted to 1 hour swim, 1 hour rest, 1 hour swim, and back again. It was very, very tough, but we eventually conquered that and incidentally became the first Asian team to have accomplished this feat. This relay experience really helped me overcome many of those inhibitions that I shared a little earlier, and also understand the kind of challenge, the magnitude of the challenge that I was getting into for my solo swim when I eventually conquered my in July last year. So how did I go about preparing? Quite honestly, the image that you see here, this is not how I envisaged the whole preparation. I had no clue where to start, but the driving force that was there within me was the motivation. I had the deep desire, deep hunger to succeed there, and I was really keen to find ways to make other things happen. So the biggest thing that came to my mind initially was how can I improve my strokes? Having started swimming much later in life, I was not a quick swimmer and I was not able to swim for longer duration. Considering my age, I felt I was not very equipped to even pursue this challenge. So I had to do a lot of work to improve my technique, improve my biomechanics, and take a lot of professional help to get my things sorted out and improve my strokes. And the cold water was my biggest worry, even as I trained harder and harder in Bangalore. As I mentioned, the temperature difference was killing, and I went to Nainital to swim in the cold lakes there. But I decided to actually go to Dover to train almost 2 months in advance before my big swim. Believe me, when I reached Dover on June 11th and quickly went to the beach for a dip, as I entered the water, for a moment I went blank, I went numb. Such was the cold shock that I felt miserable on that day, thinking that I had to sacrifice so much, I had to do so many things to only realize that I'm grossly underprepared for that event. I could barely survive 10 minutes in that cold water. I had to run out of the water because my hands and legs became numb due to the extreme temperature difference. But believe me, the mind and the body, how they work in tandem when you've got the strong conviction, strong determination to succeed. Every day I was able to go back and keep increasing the duration of my exposure in the cold water, and I was able to constantly push my limits there. And at one point, I hit my qualifying 6 hour swim in about 21 days after I reached Dover. That was a big milestone for me because without that qualifying swim, I wouldn't have been able to make that attempt. That is a mandatory criteria. So these were some of the experiences that I had to, make do with, and I think that was the single biggest decision which really helped me in my success to go almost 2 months in advance and train there. Nutrition was another big worry for me, as I realized very, very early in the training. Being a vegetarian, the usual sambar, rasam, dal, chawal wasn't obviously helping me meet my nutritional needs for the long swims. And I had tough time. I used to get really exhausted after a big swim. And I had to take professional help to understand my nutritional needs and understand my body metabolism to tailor my feeds accordingly. It's not just during the practice, but also on the big day when I had to swim for 14 hours, just surviving on the liquid diet and keeping my energy levels high. I had to experiment with many, many diets, many fluids to see what works and where it does not bloat my stomach and so on and so forth. Just on the single day after the swim, I lost about 5.5 kgs. That was the kind of stress that body had to undergo, and the nutrition has to kind of compensate to ensure that I have the energy to sustain my swim. Physical fitness and injury management, they go hand in hand. For me, the biggest worry was at that age when I'm trying to put my body through such a long endurance swim, how my heart, my cardiovascular performance is going to cope up with that, how my rest of the body system is able to cope up with the stress. So I had to really do a lot of strength and conditioning, kill myself in the gym, almost 4 or 5 sessions in a week, work on my core strengthening and work on my cardiovascular performance and so on. There is also a very big scare about the wear and tear of the muscle because after you reach certain age, you're no longer building muscles, your muscles are weaning off. And I had to work hard to strengthen the muscles and build those muscles as well. Injury management was a big scare. I had a shoulder injury which almost threatened to spoil my attempt, and many doctors advised me to go through a surgical intervention. Thanks to this doctor, David Rajan in Coimbatore, who really diagnosed it properly and navigated me through a physiotherapy route of resolution. That really helped me save 6 months of my training and helped me even succeed ultimately. Mental training, obviously in any endurance sport is a big, big aspect. In this case, they say English Channel is all about 90% mental endurance and 10% physical because there is so much that goes into your mind, and as you go through the pain every minute, you have to really raise the threshold of your pain tolerance and make sure you are not quitting just because of the pain. You have to endure the pain, learn to manage the pain. and I had to really train harder. How do you keep the mind focused? That used to be a biggest challenge when I started doing long hours, 1 hour, 2 hour swims. What do I think about so that my mind does not get distracted, mind does not get frustrated? After some time, the boredom sets in very, very fast. So you have to find a way, I had to find a way to keep myself occupied all the time. So I don't really think about the fact that I was swimming, but think about solving some problem that I'm facing. And priority management was another big thing, because as I was training for more than a few years, I realized that I had to juggle across various priorities, be it family, work, training, travel, and sickness, and so on and so forth. And I realized that keeping the training somewhere in the top priority made a big, big difference to avoid taking large breaks. Whenever I travel, I would really look for a pool nearby and make sure I complete my workout as planned. The single biggest priority call that I had to take at some point in my time in my career was to take a break from my job last year and devote more time for this training, and that really made a big, big difference. Honestly, it made a big difference towards the success of my swim. So obviously there are a lot of lessons in this journey over last few years. I think I learned more about myself in the last 4 years than ever in my life. And some of the key learnings that I would like to share with you all today is there is never a better time to follow our dreams. In my case, I waited for 10 years. I really regret it, but I still believe that it really gave me a lot of time to understand, prepare myself better, and do it successfully. I would only encourage everyone to just start working on them today. And as I started pursuing these dreams, there are a lot of disbelievers and naysayers who kept saying that, hey, it's not even going to be possible. There are so many professionals who are not even attempting to do this. How are you going to be able to even uh, make an attempt? So those kind of words really kept me guessing whether I'm doing the right thing at times. But somewhere deep down, I had this conviction that I will conquer the English Channel one day. And it was definitely possible. It was as I kept learning more about the swim, and as I started gathering more information about the channel, speaking to different people who successfully crossed, as well as people who couldn't cross the swim, to understand what failed them, what they would do differently if they had to do next time, and so on. It really helped me build those knowledge in a very extensive way. Practice is a very, very big word, but I would say that there is a very thin line between overtraining and undertraining. So when I was training for an event of this nature, obviously I had no clue what is the extent of training that is sufficient to say, yes, now I'm ready to cross the channel. So I had to keep trying different things, keep experimenting, swimming in the dark, swimming in the choppy conditions, swimming in the windy conditions, on every possible scenario that I could think of. In anticipation of the big day, I had to do all of that as I practiced during that. Setting a big goal like this and waiting for 2 years, 3 years to accomplish is completely demoralizing. So I had to come up with intermediate goals to make sure, not only to make sure that I'm treading in the right direction and treading in the right path, but also to keep the motivation alive. We all need to breed success to stay motivated, and that was the philosophy which I used. I would set up small milestones, be it a 10-kilometer swim or a 6-hour swim, and when I achieve it, I would really go and celebrate it. In Dover, after my 4-hour swim, a 6-hour swim in those cold waters, I would go and get myself a bowl of ice cream. That's my way of treating myself. Staying mentally tough, it is a big topic by itself, and I really learned the importance of the mental toughness in this journey. I had so many lows during the entire preparation that there were times when I felt I should just probably stop my attempt. To give you an interesting episode that happened, in one of those days when I was training in Dover, I wanted to do the 8-hour swim. It was a big milestone for me. That was the longest I was going to achieve before my big swim. So I started quite early at 6 a.m. in the morning. I reached the Dover beach, quickly changed my costume, and got into the water and started swimming. Parallel to the show, there were hardly anyone on the beach. Within about 20-25 minutes, as I saw from while swimming, I saw a few people walking close to my bag and taking the bag and walking out. Initially, I thought probably it is some security agency, thinking that it is an unclaimed luggage. They are going to keep it in a safe place. But as I swam to the shore to go and check out what's happening, I realized that actually my bags were stolen. My apartment keys, phone, my entire swimming kit, my feeds, everything for that day, it was all gone. Totally wiped out. All the 2 years of meticulous preparation of what would work for you on the big day, everything was gone. I had to literally start from the scratch. It was the lowest point in my entire preparation. As I mentally felt very, very low that day, I thought I will probably take the flight back home. But somewhere deep down, I really felt I should not give up so easily just for one incident. And I said, I will just stay put and make sure all the sacrifices do not go in vain. And I continued. The very next day, I went and did a long swim to get my focus back on the training part. That was an instance when I really felt down and out, and I realized that these are the times when you are tested to the core. And as they say in this book, Alchemist, suddenly the whole universe conspires to make things happen for you. I think that after that day, everything started working so well, and I was so happy that I didn't quit on that day. There was another instance where my swim got advanced by 2 weeks. Originally, I was supposed to swim on the 3rd of August. I finished my long swim, 8-hour swim, finally on July 15th. On 18th July, as I started tapering down my training, I got a call from my pilot steward saying, "Hey Srikanth, looks like you have finished your training. How about going for an attempt on 21st?" I was like totally shocked for a moment. I said, I thought it was 2 years, 2 weeks down the line. He said, "No, there is a great day that's going to come. Anyway, you're done with your training. How about making an attempt?" I was actually planning to have my wife and my friend by my side for the big day to support me. And here I was in a situation where I had to make a decision whether I'm willing to do it without any of them being present. But my other friend Tracy Clark immediately jumped in and said, "Hey Srikanth, don't worry about your feed and support. I will take care of all that. You just focus on your swim." And thankfully, my friend Satish also flew overnight to be there by my side. And eventually I attempted on 21st. Finally, the most important point, as I stood there in Samfair Ho, when I was about to start my swim, only one thought crossed my mind. There's so many times I took many things for granted, and when that opportunity came my way, I had no clue that there are so many people. I mean, I was very sure that there are so many people who are much, much better than me who could have done a good job on that day, but they didn't have that opportunity. And I was so lucky to have got that opportunity to swim. And I was very thankful to God, my family, my friends, and my coaches for having supported me in that journey. And as I started my swim, that was the single biggest thought that I started reflecting to appreciate what life gives to you. So, finally, here is my key takeaway. So, we all have dreams. I think we need to convert the dreams to goals, our life goals, and make sure there is an action plan tied to it. Without the action plan, the goals remain on paper and they are probably a non-starter for us. And once we have the action plan, we need to have a commitment to pursue those actions and back it up with a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifices, as I mentioned. And do not expect things to be rosy on the way. Expect a lot of turbulences, a lot of challenges, but stay put, stay focused on your dream, and success is definitely on its way. Friends, as they say, life begins at the end of our comfort zone. I experienced the true meaning of these words in the last few years, and I definitely have bigger goals to follow now, bigger dreams to follow now. If I could do it, there is nothing that's going to prevent you from all to pursue this. As they say, we only live once, let's make it count. Thank you.